queens, kings, and everyone else in between, or outside the scene. I'm Caleb Queen Millen, aka K Millen, and today we'll be discussing why gun violence needs to stop. So let's get into it. Inspiration. Okay, so the inspiration for this video comes from another video on this platform, titled Charlie Kirk Dead. What's Wrong with Us? Now this video is made by the channel Double Toasted, who aren't perfect, but no one is. So they are good enough people for me to recommend, so check them out, links are in the description. In their video, they talked about the death of Charlie Kirk and how that has no benefit no matter your place on the political spectrum. And I very much agree, even though Charlie Kirk was a massive bigot in many different facets. So let's discuss why I and others believe this only worsens the world. Gun violence affects everyone. If you don't believe that gun violence indeed affects everyone, here's a snippet of something Charlie Kirk said, most likely thinking it'll never happen to him.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal.
Now, I don't think he would have been so careless and insensitive if he knew his future. And if you still think the price of even just a single person's life isn't enough, well, hopefully I'll prove it to you. Otherwise, you won't like the state of the world you've helped create. This doesn't just affect political figures, kids in school, and less fortunate parts of the world. Gun violence affects everyone. Because just the simple fact they're so readily available corrupts and consumes every part of a modern society. A big reason why police violence is as bad as it is in the US is because of the more and more advanced weaponry law enforcement is equipped with. Now you can say they need these to handle more dangerous threats, and sure, you wouldn't be wrong. But first off, your everyday cop isn't going up against more than a few petty criminals. And second, if this weaponry wasn't an easy supply in the first place, people wouldn't have it. Sure, maybe a few, a small ass few mind you, but still, even then, you just call in more advanced forces to handle the matter. I didn't even get to your average civilian carrying around assault rifles, emphasis on assault, and shotguns which have slugs that obliterate flesh like it's paper. If I need to explain why this is ridiculous, and since it's in laws, I definitely do, you're the problem. And you can't say you need it for protection, because then what are cops for? And if everyone has it for protection, it's essentially useless. The same principles I stated for the police apply here. If they weren't readily available, you wouldn't need it. Now, hopefully I can move on to my next point with you understanding this one. So let's move on to, there's no political agenda. I'm making this video outside of politics. And while I discuss politics regularly in my channel, it's not my channel's focus. This is an activism channel at its core, which is why I rarely infuse comedy, gaming, writing, nor other forms of entertainment in the content. Even though I engage with these other aspects of life, I personally believe fighting for what's right should always be done from an unbiased and clear standpoint that everyone can fight from. And so with that said, even though most assassinations are committed by people with biased standpoints, that doesn't mean every assassination is, nor that it's okay to blame a political spectrum for something they had no control over. I'll now let you listen to audio from Double Toasted, and then I'll discuss this more.
Gun violence affects everyone at this moment. And while everybody's sitting up here taking sides, oh man, I'm glad to see the one of their side gets it. I'm glad to see the Republicans get it. Oh, look at the Dems, man, and the libs. They should own this. They're responsible for this. Everybody should be looking at one particular thing right now. And that is how gun violence affects us all. We've been seeing it kill children. We've been seeing it kill senior citizens. We've been seeing it kill innocent people just trying to live their lives. We've been seeing it destroy families. And you want to sit up here and take a side at this moment? What the hell is wrong with people, man? Why do we have this need to treat everything as if it's a sport? Why do we have to sit back and always choose a team? Why do we have to feel like we can't have some compassion for people, even if they disagree with us? This shit affects us all right? Gun violence has no side, okay? And we should all stop right now, from the average citizen to the politicians out there. I don't care who you are. We should all put all the bullshit aside and look at how everybody's being affected by this. Because until we do that, we're only going to be looking at it affecting one side, even though it's affecting everybody. And we're never going to get anything done because everybody's going to be like, well, it was them, not me.
Now, while this was a very messy version of what I'm trying to get across, I wanted you to hear from someone other than me, because no matter the situation, this applies. Outside factors can cloud your judgment even when there's a clear answer. So I want you to push aside your biases and think about this on a human-to-human level. Because even though I despise people like Charlie Kirk for advocating bigotry, I can still see this is wrong. And I hope no matter who you are, you can too. This doesn't just apply to situations like this either. It applies to everything in this video. I'm not making this because of some political agenda, but instead because I hope for a better world. Gun violence has no agenda. Anyone can engage with it and commit the crime. If you're still not convinced, do you think a kid sneaking an assault rifle into school is doing it because of politics? No, it's for totally different reasons that need to be addressed. But before then, we have to make sure people can't easily access these weapons in the first place. There's zero benefit to blaming politics, and hopefully you can realize that now. So let's get into more ways these laws and beliefs affect everyone. How many lives is too much? I really want to ask this question because, as you heard earlier in the video, some people, maybe even you, believe a couple of lives is worth it. I don't think even one is. But if you do, I want you to put yourself in the position of a grieving family. Or even imagine being a victim of gun violence. I'm going to give you some time to think because I want you to really question if it's worth it. How would you feel if your kids got gunned down in seconds? Or how much pain would it put in your family to see your remains? If you're still unconvinced, think of someone you love who has died in your life. Then think about if they wouldn't have died. It hurts, doesn't it? What you're thinking about, people have to go through every time a weapon is unceremoniously fired. What makes it worse is people downplay their deaths or their pain. And it takes very little thought to fire a gun while also being incredibly quick. Though if guns were more limited, people would have to think about stabbing that person, those people, or doing something else entirely. There would be more time to react and breathe. Now, I'm not saying it would be a utopia, but I am saying it would be significantly better in the world. If you're still unconvinced, look at these statistics from this year alone. And let me remind you, this year isn't even over yet. What makes it worse is it's only kids who've died. People who haven't even begun to experience life just yet. Now look at these statistics. This is the amount of school shootings over the last 7 years. It should be 0. But even if that's unreasonable, which is not, it needs to be like 1 or 2 every few years. This is unacceptable as a modern day society. There shouldn't be this much danger directed towards kids, no less. Especially when there is an easy fix. Just ban assault, slug, and quit firing weaponry. While also having more restrictions on handguns and limiting law enforcement's arsenal. These laws are already in place in other parts of the world. So why is the US so behind? Most countries have it figured out already. If you had no idea, most nations indeed have it figured out already. Even most Western ones, such as the UK and other European countries, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. In the UK, in fact, all firearms require police-issued license, which comes with extensive background checks and evaluations. This is why you'll hear plenty of British people make jokes about getting stabbed in the street or alley, since it's too much work for an average criminal to go through and own a gun. Also, handguns are straight up banned because of a school shooting in 1996. Though plenty of other countries have it figured out too, such as Japan, China, Vietnam, Cambodia, and other Asian countries, as well as plenty more. Though I bet if you still don't realize these laws need to change, you're citing the Second Amendment. So let me read it to you. It states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay, so let's get into discussion about this. My very simple to the point opinion on this is, the people who wrote this live in a very different world to ours, and I personally believe their beliefs shouldn't reflect modern ones. I mean, most of them were awful people, slave owners and colonizers. They may have had good opinions on some things, especially when they worked together, but otherwise they aren't role models. So sticking to their words, whether exactly or slightly, is dumb in this time period. So let's even consider the future. They'll be even further behind on their concepts then. I just plainly think it's stupid to consider what they have to say, especially when they aren't even present now to experience our world. Summary. So in summary, there should be more restriction on firearms, and this isn't about politics, but people's lives. There are already enough people suffering, and a decent amount of the world has lessened the suffering. And we shouldn't consider the beliefs of bigoted people that lived in a world far different from ours. The ending. Thank you to everyone who has reached this far in the video. It's much appreciated. You can check out the description for all sorts of stuff related and not to this video. Though anyways, hopefully you all have an amazing, lovely day. And goodbye.